So welcome back again to another episode of Heroes on the Mat. Today I have Bill Wantagh, 25 years in the Vineland Police Department, worked narcotics, and retired as a canine sergeant, and the owner of the Sharktank BJJ Academy. Bill, it's a pleasure to meet you. How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. So you sat in a lot of traffic on the way here.
Yes, it was a lot of traffic.
I'm glad you're here now. So we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. And if you're watching right now, like, comment, subscribe. This is going to be a great interview, and we're excited to dive into it.
Very excited, yes. Or something. I think he's a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
And I naturally went, Belfort. And he went, well, I think so. I don't know. He does Jiu Jitsu and MMA. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we go up there. I go up to Joey's house for a family barbecue, and Shaolin's sitting at the kitchen table. And I'm like...
I'd be like starstruck.
I'm like, you know, that's Shaolin? He goes, you know, I figured it out. He goes, because my brother-in-law was training at Henzo Gracie's in Newark. Mm-hmm. And when Shaolin moved in, he said, hey, you want to go to a jiu-jitsu class with me? He said, do you train? And, of course, Shaolin says, a little bit. And at the time, he's a five-time world champion at the time. So Joey walks in, Henzo's with Shaolin, and the whole class is like, oh, my God. And he's like, you know my neighbor? He's like, yeah. And then he realized who he actually lived next to.
Sitting next to a superstar right now.
Yes, absolutely. And at the time, we had no black belt. Mm-hmm. I was a brown belt for probably about 4 years, and my buddy Alex, who was a state correction officer in Jersey, ran the night classes, and I tried to keep the morning classes going because I was an afternoon shifter. And my wife said, why don't you reach out to Shaolin? And said, you know, looking to be an affiliate school. And he went, absolutely. You know, I sat for probably hours with him just like this at the kitchen table at the family barbecue with my background in jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, like I said, it was dumb luck. I mean, we've been good friends. I talked to him again the other day. I come up when I can. It's a 2-hour ride from my school to his school. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, I come up, I hang out with the in-laws, and then I go train with him, and then I have a place to lay my head at night.
Yeah. I mean, when you sent over when I sent over the questions before we got to the interview, I almost like read past it, and then I was like, whoa, wait a second, like I'm gonna have to ask this the minute you get here. I was like,
because I get a lot. I travel a lot, and I stop at other schools wherever I go, and you know, people go, oh, cool, you're an affiliate. You know, who'd you get your black belt from? And I go, Shaolin, and they're like, cool, you're an affiliate school. Where'd you get your black belt from? And I went, Shaolin. And they're like and I went, yeah, because we were in Orlando last year. My wife's a gymnastics coach. We went to Orlando, and there was a young Brazilian kid at Orlando BJJ. You know, I go in, and we're just talking, and he's like, oh, who's your black belt from? And I said, Shaolin. And he's like, oh, my God, I grew up in Brazil as a child watching him in Brazil.
When I first started training, I would watch his highlights.
Right.
Like,
yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's awesome. So how long? So let me give you a brief, tell everybody who's watching, just like, what's the story of Bill? Where'd you grow up? How did you get into law enforcement, jiu-jitsu? Like, bring him from the beginning, whatever you're comfortable with.
Grew up in Vineland, New Jersey. It's about 30 minutes north of Atlantic City. We're way down in South Jersey. And went to college. Actually, in high school, I had an architecture background. Mm-hmm. And it was, you know, drawing houses, building houses, yada, yada. Ended up at Rowan University and decided to go into criminal justice, and I don't even know why or remember why at the time. Graduated from there, took my first job at Sea Isle City Police Department down in southern New Jersey. It's a shore town. And Cape May County Police Academy, we did pressure points for like 4 days. And that was the extent of your defensive tactics. And I was like, okay, because I was growing.
What, like the stuff on like the shoulder?
Yeah,
or like the
pressure points, you know, under their nose, and the common perennial stun.
I assume it's probably got better like as time went on, hopefully, or...
Yes, and like every martial art I've ever tried or something for work, I like taking bits and pieces of stuff and using it for work specifically.
Yeah.
Right? So then I ended up Sea Isle City, and then I moved on to the Cumberland County Jail as an officer there.
Oh, okay. So you went from cop to
I went from cop
corrections?
to correction officer.
Okay.
Worked there for 2 years. And at the time, and when I look back, I had 5 days of classroom, and then they put me in the jail. And that's
crazy.
And I literally asked the training officer, I said, you know, what do you guys do, like, if you have to fight an inmate? And they're like, to do what you have to do. And I was like...
What year was this around? Like
1992.
Oh, wow. And that's the year I was born.
And the training officer literally says, do what you have to do. And at the time, I went through college, especially high school and college as a swimmer, played some football, and do what you have to do. And then I started doing a lot of karate because it was like nobody would offer any type of formal training, department-wise. Did a lot of karate, got hired by Vineland in 1994, went through that police academy, and that instructor was it was the old school, the gooseneck come along. You know, it's stuff that didn't make sense. It wasn't applicable nowadays because it's like nobody knew any better. But I had a karate background, and my first couple of years in Vineland, if people would square up or a suspect would square up, I'd kick people. And my admin, my admin would, but they would frown upon it, and they'd go, "You can't kick people," and I didn't. Why? Well, you should punch them in the face.
Oh my God!
And my buddy John Alstino at the time was teaching me a lot of karate, and Vineland sent him probably in around 98 or 99 to a grapple school, and I think it was a Gracie acronym back then, the Gracie GRAPLE, something for law enforcement. And we're at the karate school, and he's like, "Lay on the floor, I'm going to mount you." And he's like, "Now get out." And of course, you don't know anything, karate background, shouldn't be on the floor. And I'm trying to push John off, and he's like, No, watch this, mount me. And he bumps, traps my arm, traps my leg. I was going to say
the trap and roll, probably, right?
Roll. Yeah, right. And I'm like, "The hell's this?" He goes, "It's like a trap and roll, bump and roll." And I'm like, "This is pretty cool." And there wasn't 98, 99. There was really nothing around, especially in South Jersey. There was not a lot around. And I ended up finding a Galloway cop, Rich Comar at the time, who was a blue belt and was basically my first formal instructor. And we trained in his chicken coop in his backyard because he had like a little barn with old wrestling mats.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we started doing Jiu Jitsu there. Rich is a black belt under Phil and Ricky Migler up at Balance in Philly. So we'd go to his chicken coop, and it would be like, "Hey, do you want to go to Philly to train?" And back then it was like, yeah, because there's nothing around. So we took the drive from, Atlantic City area up to Philly. You train for 2 hours and drive home and go. It was amazing. Unlike now where schools, every
15 minutes you got another jiu-jitsu
spot. I started with Rich. Rich was a day shift cop. I was an afternoon cop. Only saw Rich on like Sunday mornings at open mats in his coop. And then I moved up to Hassett's in Washington Township, which was about half hour from my house. Started training with John for a while. It's about 2004 to 2008. And in 2008, the Sharktank opened in Vineland. Jason Guerrero opened the Sharktank in Vineland. So I just started training there under Jason because he actually got his black belt under John Hassett, where I'd come from. So he opened that as a balance school and then ran that for a couple of years until he passed. And then for probably about 4 or 5 years, we barely kept it afloat, the school afloat.
Yeah.
Just because we didn't have full-time instructors because everybody had a law enforcement job.
Everybody had a full-time gig, right?
Right. And it was like, "Hey, can you teach Tuesday?" Because, John's teaching Wednesday and Alex is teaching Thursday. And we kept it afloat until I retired in basically 2019. And then we've been really good ever since.
Now, did you go full-time into Shark Tank once you retired? Like that was like kind of like your transition, or?
The funny part is the Shark Tank is in the gymnastics school, which is currently owned by my wife.
Okay.
And Jason was previously married to my current wife. He passed, and then we got married. Or we got married in 2019.
Gotcha.
So we started dating in like 2015.
Gotcha.
So my school's in the bigger facility of the gymnastics school.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's
So I've been there training there since 2008, and basically started running it. And because Alex was, like I said, Alex was the state president, retired. I think in 2016, moved to Myrtle Beach and opened a jiu-jitsu school down there. So between 16 and 19, I've been basically running it the best I could.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Everybody who's a cop or a correctional officer now, like everybody, like a lot of guys have like their side things or side gigs and stuff, and that balance of going, especially if you do like shift work, like you said, your afternoon cop, like was it 4 to 12?
I was at 3:30 to 2:15 in the morning.
Oh wow, okay, yes. Was that 11-hour shift or a 10-ish?
10 hours and 45.
Okay.
Plus I was a canine guy.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So you started out cop, correctional officer to cop.
Yes.
What made you transition out of the jail?
I just always wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was one of those class 2 specials, the part 2 summer gig.
Okay.
And then like October it came to an end.
So it wasn't like a full-time,
No.
like real, like,
No.
yeah.
It was
Okay,
a part 2, special class 2. Took that, and then the jail opened up full time. I was there for 2 years. You know, it just something I didn't want to do. I wanted to be a cop.
Yeah. It takes a special person to go to jail or prison every day.
Yeah, that was.
And I don't know how the correction officers do it. Like
yes.
For the people who are watching right now who are COs, I have no idea how you guys do it. I would never be able to do it. God bless.
Yes. As I said, it's for me to sit, you know, for the hours, and it was just horrendous.
And it's like, really, I mean, I don't have experience with it. You have experience with it, but like, you really got yourself to depend on almost, really. Like,
yes, because I mean, especially the environment's not like it used to be. I think when I was there, it was very calm. Because I had a lot of family in state corrections that kept going, why do you want to be a cop? Because you know there's people on the street want to kill you, but the people in the jail were friendlier at the time.
Well, yeah, because you guys ran the place.
Yeah, but
during
now,
the 90s. Now, maybe it's probably the dichotomy is different. I don't know. But
like you said, you got to depend upon yourself. We just had a correction officer at a county facility down by us get knocked out on punch unconscious. You know, and it's that with, you know, that's why the training aspect comes in to it.
I bet. So so you did 25 years in Vineland.
I did 25 years.
And you did narcotics, canine, retired as a canine sergeant,
yes.
Right? So what so walk me through like your beginning career at Vineland. Was it beat cop, patrol cop? Like, how'd you start?
I was, after graduating the police academy, I think I was patrol officer for about maybe 2 years.
You seem like the type to get off patrol right away.
No, I did. I
was going to say.
Back then, it was funny the way the department was run then, because the chief came to me one day and he said, type a memo requesting to go to narcotics. And I said, I really don't want to go to narcotics. Narcotics, I wanted to go to street crimes. Street crimes was the proactive guy.
Plain clothes.
Yeah. The jump out guy, go grab the drug dealer, the guy with the warrants, the guns.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Mario, you know, old school town, he said, type a memo requesting to go to narcotics on Monday. I said, I'd really rather go to street crimes. And he said, type a memo requesting to go to narcotics on Monday. And Monday I was in narcotics.
Yeah. Somebody wanted you, probably, right? Or
yeah, but
somebody noticed you.
But it
possibly,
was back then. You know, you didn't bitch and complain where you wanted to go, and you were told where you would fit in. And I went to narcotics for probably about a year, and then they told me I was going to the detective bureau. And then I cringed, because I always looked at detectives as the old, experienced guys that you relied upon with the experience. Yep. You know, and back then, our detectives were the 16, 18-year guys in, and I only had like 4 years. And we had to wear suit and ties back then. You couldn't have your gun exposed. So I looked like I was going to a wedding every day going to work, and I was miserable.
Yeah,
and then
I'm a detective now. I could tell you.
I was
suit and tie. And listen, we're a little bit more lax. My department's very good with our attire, but it is still the old school, like, professionalism. If you're gonna go out to a scene, suit, tie clip, the whole thing, because you represent the
right.
And I'm 33 years old. I never thought I would be a detective. I exact same experience as you. When I put in for the squad, I didn't think I was going to get it for like another 10 years, because I was like, oh, I need 15 years experience.
Right.
Like, I need to be gray. I need to be this. And they were like, come on down. Because everybody was retiring. All the tier 2 in New York State here, all those guys, a lot of them retiring. And there was like a big brain dump of just experience. And you know, I had a little bit of experience from NYPD, did a little bit of like the Special Ops Conditions Unit, like never made it to the street crime to plainclothes, came out to the county, but very similar story when they said like, oh, become a detective. I was like, yeah, I'll put in for it and take 10 years. But then like, and I was like, oh, wow, holy crap, I'm a detective.
Yeah. And I was there about a year, because my problem was we'd pull up at an intersection and the drug dealer would run and I would chase. You know, and then finally the chief went, you're going back to narcotics. You're just not fitting in the detective bureau right now. So I ended up back in narcotics, and then I flipped between narcotics and street crimes. And I was fortunate, because if I would get bored in narcotics with, you know, the plain clothes, the long hair, you know, the narcotic work, the undercover work, I'd go, hey, can I go back to street crimes, get a haircut, you know, be more visible, just a change of pace. But I had a fortunate career, and then Canine opened up, and I put in for that. So
now, when you were working in narco, were you a UC? Were you doing buys and stuff like that? Or?
I did a lot of work outside of our town, because my first time in narcotics, we had an old school chief. I had to have a haircut. So then it was I'm home from I'm home from the military. I'm home from, which was it's so hard.
Okay, guy.
Yeah, hey,
that's what they're gonna
you
say.
look like a cop. You got the cop haircut, and it's like I'm on leave from like Afghanistan or something. You're trying to come up with some BS story.
Yeah.
My second time around, I was in narcotics. We had a new chief, and he said, "Just do whatever you want." And at one point, I had no haircut for 3 years, so I had shoulder length hair, and it was more believable.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I see some of the UCs now that I mean, they fool me.
Right.
So, well, they're trying to really look like heroin addicts, so like all skinnied out, blue hair dye and stuff. But it's I mean, listen, it was never something that I wanted. I don't think I'd be able to ever do. I mean, I could be 21 Jump Street maybe,
right?
But that's really it. That's cool. What made you decide to go to canine, like the canine route?
I always wanted Vineland had canine probably up until like 2000, and then they phased it out. And then in 2000, end of 2007, they decided to phase it back in.
Mm-hmm.
And they picked 2 handlers. We got dogs, and they really at that time we started adding a dog a year.
Oh, so they were still growing like the.
Oh, when I left in 2019, we had 6 handlers and 7 dogs. If considering we have a small department, we have 150 officers.
Okay, I mean that's still pretty medium sized.
Yeah, I always think the larger departments, and everybody goes, that's a good sized department, which I get in South Jersey it is. But we had 6 handlers, 7 dogs.
Okay. And how, I mean, are you a dog guy? Like, or was it just like, let's put in 4?
No, I've always had dogs.
Okay.
But I always saw the benefit of the dog at work, or especially being in narcotics or street crimes, call a dog for a tracking, call a dog for a tractor trailer sniff or something. And it was just like, we don't have dogs, guys. And it's the time waiting or no dogs available, and you're letting a tractor trailer drive away going, I know there's something in there.
Yeah.
And you don't have a dog.
I think you got that feeling. You're like, there's something in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good they decided to build it.
Yeah.
But, all right. So and you retired as sergeant, like canine sergeant, right?
Yes.
So you got promoted like somewhere within that time?
I got promoted in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Was it like an open test or like?
It's a civil service test for Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So I got my results. I'm like list number like 1,000 something. So I'll be a detective for a while.
Yeah.
So we'll take it the next 4 years.
Yeah. When my results came out, I was like 4 on the list, and I was in the canine academy, and I'm like, this is a no-win situation. I'm gonna bite somebody with a dog, and they're gonna skip me. But no, it all worked out, but it's
good.
Yeah,
it's good. How was it doing police work, street crime work, while you were also training? Because you were probably, I mean, there's a lot of people on the job now that train. Back then, I would imagine probably few and far between of cops that were training Jiu Jitsu specifically.
At one point, became difficult because I was also doing triathlon. I had a buddy at work that got me into triathlons. Hey, try this out. I was naturally a swimmer, and he was doing duathlons. So I started doing that. I'm like, well, shit, if I can run and bike, I know I can add to swimming. So now I'd get done work, and I'd try to swim and run, and then I'd try to go to jiu-jitsu, and then I'd go to work the next day and try to, bike and jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yes, so you were.
And then I finally just said, you know what? Screw all this. I don't swim after anybody at work. There's no bike. Yes, obviously I run, but the bike went on eBay. I quit swimming, and I started doing jiu-jitsu primarily, and then I picked up MMA in 2006.
Okay. As like hobby or
no, I actually did Cage Fury 1 and Cage Fury 2.
Okay, so you went right into it, yeah.
My buddy actually, Felix Martinez, started Cage Fury in 2006.
Okay.
A bunch of us went to a cage fight in Atlantic City back in 2005.
That's the early days.
So I'm watching these kids fight, and at the time I was 36. And I'm like,
oh, that's crazy, man.
So I'm looking at this.
you saw
and I'm looking at this, and Felix turns to me and goes, I'm starting a fight organization next year. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I'm going to call it CFFC. And I'm like, okay. He calls me a week later and says, hey, you want to fight?
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, well, I went like this. After I saw the kids gassing, going like, there's no cardio. There's no training. So, yeah, I did Cage Fury 1. And I trained at Hassett's at the time. I think I was a blue belt. I don't remember. One stripe, couple stripe blue belt. I don't remember.
That's awesome.
But it was me and another guy just trained at Hassett's for like 2 or 3 months. And we were both on the first card.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
And you were 36.
I was 36. It was Boardwalk Hall, and it was probably one of the most adrenaline dump things I've ever experienced in my life, because I just finished a marathon, and the pre-fight doctor for the state is going, "You sound like you're gonna have a heart attack." And
resting heart rate was low.
It was disgusting. And I mean, I tell people, when you talk about adrenaline dump and you know, stress, I walked out with the smoke and the lights, going, "This is what am I doing?
Yeah, why am I here?"
Why? And that's
listen. Sometimes I think that at like a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah,
like I can't imagine in an MMA.
And I remember, because the towns Vineland and Millville have a rivalry, so they took a kid from Millville that lived there.
Oh, great. Gas it up even more.
So they did a Vineland versus Millville. So, you know, now I'm working, going through town, going, you know, the Millville kid's going to kick your ass, or, went back and forth.
Just adds to the pressure.
But it was just, it was nerve-wracking.
I mean, have you ever wanted to fight before, or you were just like, yeah, why not?
No, because I've done karate tournaments in the past.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and at the time I was relying on a karate background and a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. 36 years old, Cage Fury won in 2006.
It's amazing.
I mean, you know, and it's like that.
It gives me hope, because I'm 33 and I've always wanted to check the box.
Yeah, but I tell everybody, I started jiu-jitsu at probably 30, 31. Yeah, because we didn't have it like, you know.
It's not available as it is now.
And I tell the kids, and I'm going, you know, you especially in Jersey, I said, up and down from South Jersey to North Jersey, you have high-end jiu-jitsu all the way through Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about it. The guys who trained at Henzo's. They were from Jersey, right? Like Gary Tonin, Gordon Ryan, like they were Jersey guys. I know they're in Texas now, but
it's funny you bring up Gordon Ryan. A guy from my school wrestled him in Philadelphia in amateur grappling league or professional grappling league, like in 2014.
Wow. He
lost to him in the second round, of course, but it's Jersey jiu-jitsu, it's Jersey wrestling, and you look at a lot of the big names.
Well, who else is down there? Is Dean Lister, is he down there? Or
Tom DeBlas.
Tom DeBlas. That's
Tom
what I'm
DeBlas
thinking.
is down there.
Mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah, Almeida.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, there is a lot.
You can go. There's so many good schools, and I mean, you go. My buddy in Cape May, Chuck's got a school starting in Cape May, and he's an Almeida guy. But you come all the way up the coast, and you look at the names. Jersey has tough jiu-jitsu and wrestling. It really does.
Yeah. I dropped into Henzo's, the Blue Basement. I think this was 2017, 2018, when I first got my blue belt. I took a bunch of years off, so I'm still blue belt. But I did the quintessential quit at blue belt, and then I came back. But so I'm thankful that I came back. But when I went down there to train, it was packed. There was so many freaking people down there, and it wasn't even a no-gi class, and it wasn't like the John Danaher class either. Like I forget who was teaching, but everybody, people from all over the world. Some guy from Argentina flew up there specifically just to train. I was like, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's like the time where it really started to take off, because I started training in 2015. So I was in the NYPD Academy. Similar story. I was like, well, I guess I got to learn how to defend. Never wrestled and was fat kid in high school. Got in shape to get into the academy, and then, as police work went on and on, I just, stuck with it. Had 3 kids back to back to back. Took some time off, came back, but when you were in street crime and narcotics, did you have any instances where you were able to use jiu-jitsu to diffuse a situation? Any interesting situations?
Oh yeah, because when I first got my blue belt, I mean, the blue belt, you think you have it covered now, and I remember vividly tackling a guy, mounting him, and putting him in an armbar, and then going.
People are probably like, what the
Then I'm going, what am I doing? This is the dumbest thing I've ever done. And then my partner gets there, and I'm like, can you cuff this guy? Because it was just dumb on my part. But it was just, oh, look, I'm mounting an armbar.
Yeah, you just go right back to it.
And then you just realize going, that was just dumb. And I tell
probably
guys,
looked amazing.
But I tell the guys all the time, you get your blue belt and you think, man, okay, now I got it good for work. And it's just that was just dumb.
Got to keep training.
Right.
Yeah, you got to keep training. Yeah. I know, in my experience with it, especially when I was in the NYPD, training just by yourself and having the confidence to if you get into a confrontation, it's you and your partner. That's one thing, you build that confidence. But when you mix in a lot of cops at once, have you ever had the situation of you're all dogpiling on top
Yes.
of each other, and you're like, can you please all just
Yes.
move out and I'll get this? Like,
Yes, that's the big thing anymore. Was like, do not help me unless I ask for help.
yeah,
Because fortunately now, like when I left, I've had a bunch of the Vineland guys who trained with me, and it was like, okay, you know, who was a leg guy, who was an arm guy, who did this, who did that, or then you got the, you know, one guy who did jiu-jitsu and the other people are going, you're pulling an arm out and they're pulling the opposite arm. Now
yeah, it's counterintuitive to what you're
yes,
trying to do.
Absolutely.
It's happened all the time. Yeah, all the time. Like, I think it would be even much better if you just have two guys.
Yes.
Like, let's cut I'm going to say cut the body in half, as in like top half, bottom half. You grab the legs and I'll, you know.
At one point in my street crime career, I had a high school wrestler that was in the, I don't know, top 5 of the state. And we're in street crimes together, and Chicky would be my takedown guy. And I go, you take him down. And at the time, it rear naked choke. Go to sleep, wake up handcuffed. And that's what it was. And Chicky was just a small
I was going to say, what year was that?
Oh, this was way.
Okay.
Oh, this is 2004, 5, 6.
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah.
Chicky was like a, I don't know, 110 wrestler, 130 wrestler. Bam, double leg takedown, you know, and I'd come in rear naked.
I was going to say quick ankle pick. Like,
yeah, and a rear naked choke. Guy goes out handcuffed.
Listen, honestly, it's kind of the best way. Like, I know the public would watch a video on that and say like, "Oh my God, you're killing." I mean, the guy's just gonna wake up.
At one point, our department, and I explained to admin and IA, I've been like, "Look, we're gonna stop breaking hands and hurting people, and we're gonna stop punching people in the eyes. We're gonna stop punching people in the nose."
Yeah, you get hurt.
And then then the broken hand. And at the time, I went through the State Department of Corrections, and they had a phenomenal program where rear naked was called arm triangle.
Okay.
So we would arm triangle everybody, but we had for 10 years we had no broken hands.
What I mean, and
nobody
listen,
punched anybody. And
guy wakes up handcuffed. And
I said
chill.
We've done that a lot. And then radar 2000 summer of 2020 when Murphy said nothing around the neck.
Yeah.
A week later, you get broken hand here, broken hand there. Who's punching in the face again? Because we don't know any better.
Yeah. And listen, I can understand from I can understand from the public's perspective, especially for people who don't train, because a rear naked looks like death.
Sure.
Especially when the guy goes. But if you train and it's like you're just cutting off the arteries, and as soon as they go out, when they go out, and they're going to wake up in 5 seconds. They're going to have no idea what's going on, and they're going to be fine.
But then if you look at a child's jiu-jitsu class and the 6 and 7-year-olds, they're choking each other.
Oh, yeah, my 5-year-old goes nuts.
But the police can't do it. But it's just, and I think it's just a lack of understanding on everybody's part.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of noteworthy instances that we could pick apart, but I mean, you get flamed in the comments.
Right.
So.
Right.
Which, if you're watching this and you like this, comment, subscribe, because throw a comment in there if you agree with Bill and I are saying. So let's move on. So you retired, doing the jiu-jitsu full time. So how'd you find out about Heroes on the Mat?
Tim Barry, he's a retired lieutenant from State Department of Corrections, hits me up, I don't know, whatever it was, the spring, says, "Hey, there's this cop law enforcement thing up in Long Island, Heroes on the Mat." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Where is he?" He goes, "Long Island." I'm like, I just came out of there, and I know how miserable the traffic is and how far away it is. Okay.
So bad.
And he's like, "I don't have a match yet." And I'm like, "Okay." And then the week prior, he goes, "Hey, I got a match Sunday at 4. I'm like, "Sunday at 4 from here?"
Ooh,
he goes, "You don't have to go if you don't want." So I said, "I'm absolutely going with you." So I said, "Just pick me up at 11. He had weigh-ins at, 2.
Yeah, yep.
So we came up. He's a brown belt. Match didn't go his way. He said, "Okay, yeah, I know." Went home. Second one came out, and somebody went, "Hey, I want to do that Heroes on the Mat."
Oh, like at your gym, like somebody said?
Yeah, for the one that's coming up in June.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, so I send the name up. It's a girl. It's female. And I go, "Hey, sorry, you got a match." She's like, "No kidding." Somebody else went, "Hey, can I get on the card?"
Yeah, now you got, 7, 8 people?
Yeah, so I threw another name up there, and then I just started going, "Hey, here's almost anything you need, I can probably supply."
Mm-hmm.
So then, it's just, then it turned into the military, former military, active military.
Yeah, it was opened up to military
and
this time,
of course, I have a mom. She has got 4 kids, and she said, I want to do it, but softball season's here with my girls. Maybe if they have one in the fall, I'll plan on the fall. Mm-hmm. So, of course, last week, Danae went, since so many people are going, I want to do it now, too. So and I actually just sent her a picture in last night. She has a match.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it really snowballed because I have.
That's good. The females are getting involved because it was tough. I think it was tough to find females at first, but I mean, after the first event went so well.
I have 2 girls on the card right now.
That's amazing.
When I say girls, they're women.
It's good.
So
no, that's amazing. That's good.
It's what's great is both mothers with old and they're not young girls anymore. Mm-hmm. But they're active, they train, and it's just everybody makes an excuse, and you're talking about 2 moms. Like Danae just had her 4th kid. She has 4 kids.
I made excuses for 3 years until I had to like literally look at myself and I was like, "You're being a loser. You need to." You know what?
She would train, and she'd go, "Hey, I got to take time off. I'm having a baby," and then she'd come back and she'd train. You know, she had the 4th baby. She goes, "Look, I'm back for good now."
Yeah, 4 kids is a lot.
So now she says, you know, she brings the kids in the morning when she can. She sticks them in a corner. She trains. You know, and
that's great.
Asara was there last night. She's got older kids now. She got done her shift last night. Stopped it in. She goes, I got to get ready for June 8th.
It's so great.
That's
awesome.
I got a Jersey State Trooper on the card. I got a guy from the federal prison on the card. I got prior military on the card. But we got a great group of people in our gym.
It really is. There's a lot of people from Jersey on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember Joe was telling me he's like New Jersey's taking over. He's like this is New Jersey versus Long Island right now.
I know I say it constantly. It's Jersey, and I've been pushing law enforcement and jiu-jitsu for so many years, and there's days it hurts my heart because if you take somebody not familiar with law enforcement and they'll tell you how much training a cop does, and I go, it's
so bad.
I remember last year, the end of last year, it was October, and somebody was going, oh, you know, if it wasn't so expensive, it wasn't so expensive. So I went like this. From October 1st until December 31st, any cop that wants to train at my school, stop in for free. And my wife was at a birthday party with girls, and she texted me. She goes, what are you doing?
Oh, boy.
And I went, and it's, you know, I want to give it away, and I can't get guys in. And, you know, it's funny because I know what South Jersey compared to North Jersey economics is, and I know what the prices are up here, monthly prices, and I still can't get guys in my gym. You know, and there's schools in Toms River, there's us, you know.
You think it's an ego thing?
Yeah, that too. I truly do because, you know, I see it, especially with the bigger high school, college kids that come in.
Yeah, big time.
And they come in and they think because they're so much bigger, and of course I get the old man comment all the time, you know, but you try to explain.
Yeah, come over here. Let me show you old man.
But you try to explain to people that you're going to get good. Just trust this process, and people have a problem trusting the process. And I think in this generation, everyone's that instant gratification.
Yeah.
And you're not, and listen to me, I know you're not going to get it, but it's so hard to convince people. Yeah. Have patience, you know, because you get am I good? Am I doing okay? Am I good? I think I suck. Am I good? You know, and then
you feel kind of good, and then you're like, oh, I suck again.
And then the new person comes in, and you're like, oh my God, I do know something because they don't know anything. Yeah. You know, and then here comes the new person. Do I suck? Am I any good? And I go, just trust yourself. And then that new person comes in. You've seen it. You know, then they start going, oh my God. But then, and I tell everybody, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Married, job, kids, etc. You know, and if you can hang in there. Or if you have to take that time off, get back.
Yep.
You'll be fine. Just get back on. You're going to be rusty, and the guy or girl you used to train with, they're now 2 or 3 stripes or a belt ahead of you, and go, shit, I could have been. And that's just what it is. And it's definitely not a sprint.
Yeah.
But you just have to accept the fact, you know, and I tell the bigger guys coming in, accept the fact for probably 6 months, you're going to get pummeled. Yeah. And when you start learning jiu-jitsu, it'll come together.
You'll become the hammer eventually.
Absolutely. You know, and it's that, especially the bigger guys, you know, now you have a little bit of skill, and you have, you know, 4-stripe white belt, blue belt, and now you have, you know, your size and some skill. And now they're like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah. Meanwhile, when they first started, 110-pound females, wrapping them up in a triangle and doing this.
I'll have cops come in, and I'll go, look, hey, for your first class, just roll with the teenage girl. And they're like, well, she's a girl. And I go,
yeah, okay. Yeah.
And I go, no,
go find out.
I get she's a girl, but, you know, I don't want you going with some, you know, a male cop who's blue belt going, oh, look, I'm going to figure up this cop from another department.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, and then he gets done, he goes, oh my God, she's 15. And I go, she's a girl and she's 15. You know, but then I explain to people, Now think about it. If you think she's good, think about the guy that doesn't want to get locked up, or he's on, PCP or wet.
Yeah.
And now we got to stop with I have a plan. I know what I'm going to do, because I've always looked at law enforcement from the sports perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everybody, look, I've got kids going to a good fight tournament next week that are training more than 4 hours a week. Jersey's police training commissions now, they implemented 4 hours a year for cops of jiu-jitsu based training. 4 hours a year. And I went, 4 hours a year? I said, I got kids that are going to do a 5-minute match, and they're doing 4 hours a week.
Right.
And it's crazy, because when I go back and look at it, and now even the cops I used to work with, I go, your kid plays baseball, and you think he's going to be Mike Trout, and you go like this: I have a hitting coach, and I have a weightlifting coach, and I have him at practice every night for a game on Saturday that he may or may not win, that is really not that significant, and if he loses, okay, so he plays rec baseball when he grows up and becomes an adult.
Yeah, whatever.
But we put so much time into our kids for a sport, which they're not going to live or die, but you as a parent go, nah, I got this, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll just go out on the street, gun,
right.
vest, and
we'll
hope for the best.
And then we start relying on tools, and when they malfunction, then we're it's the oh shit syndrome, and it's like, or how do I transition from wrestling a guy to get to a taser, spray, or whatever weapon or tool you're looking for?
Yeah. Did you guys have tasers in Vineland, or
Vineland got tasers right after I left?
Okay.
And I'm just not a fan, just because of the variables that come into play when tasers deployed.
Yeah.
Because I still hear all the stories, and it's I think if it's not perfect 2 probes in, if somebody has a pocketbook, if somebody has a denim jacket, if somebody has a
I've seen it not work multiple times.
But then you start seeing the percentage of working come down, just because if I deploy and you deploy and yours doesn't work and mine does, we're at 50% real quick.
Yep.
And it's just a variable. Does the wind blow? Does something happen?
Yeah,
and it's
big time.
That's, I tell people too. The guys now go, I have a taser, and I go, I never depended upon my dog, really.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I've got all the time. Oh, it's a good thing you have that dog, and I would tell people, and my wife, kids, it's chock full of confidence, border on arrogance. Going, I didn't need the dog to defend me. I needed the dog. I needed his nose to find the guy in the woods, to find the lost child, to find the drugs hidden someplace. I didn't need him to defend me. So if we're going to, and the thing is too, got to remember, the dog's really never tested like we are, because if I deployed my dog on you in the event that like I was afraid of you, and you kicked the shit out of my dog, and he's never been kicked, he might melt. And
that's a good point.
And that's because you can.
How can you train that?
You can't pressure test a dog. Like, what are you going to do? Kick a dog in training and go, well, this one just failed out because we kicked him and he melted. And
I never thought about that.
You hope not, but that's the thing, and it's that your dog is truly never pressure tested until we go live.
Wow. Yeah.
Because when you think about it, there's been dogs that have been hit and like maybe broken a bite and cowered. And then you go, uh-oh. Or he never wants to bite again because the last time he engaged a bad guy, he got waffled, and it's like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
Because remember, especially with the dog, we mark that moment where 2 weeks ago you got deployed and you got kicked. And if I get deployed now, am I getting hit again?
Yeah.
Some dogs are tougher, some dogs aren't, but you don't pressure test them until you're live. And that's just like a cop that doesn't train. You don't get pressure tested until this thing's live.
Yeah. That's very true. I remember clearly my first tussle, like when I was a city cop. And like I've been in like a BS like fist fight before in like 6th grade. But it was one time. And I guess I had some confidence because I was like, all right, well, at least I didn't run away. And I was scared as hell and I lost. But at least I went in there and I did it. And I took my beating like a young man.
Right.
But I was like, now as a suburb kid that's in East New York, Brooklyn, which was at the time a complete shift of scenery. Like I wonder when the shit hits the fan, like how I'm going to react. And, I guess thankfully I'll never say that I was like, oh, hero running into the gunfight. Because like, listen, man, like you don't know how you're going to react until it happens. But thankfully, I think when I started training, it really gave me that boost of confidence where I was like, all right, at least I know, like I would look at other people on the street, like potential people that like I'd have to interact with, and I'm like, well, it doesn't look like they train. So, and maybe I could be wrong. Who knows? But I was like, but the odds are they don't. And I know that I do. So I feel a little bit more confident. I mean, I asked before if you think it was an ego thing. I think it definitely plays a factor. But what about the people that like did train, liked it, and then like life got in the way? I'm a prime example of that. I let life get in the way. It was always in the back of my head. And then when I put my kids into it, I mean, my kid turned 3. He was still in a diaper. And I was like, I got to get him in there. I was like, because I need an excuse to train. Like, I need to get him in the class, throw him with an iPad afterwards, and take the adult class. And that was, but it was always in the back of my head because I loved it so much and I got back into it. But for the people that life gets in the way, what would be your advice to them to say, like, get back into it?
I think you owe it to yourself, especially, I tell everybody this. A, there's somebody you love at home. Go home to them alive every night.
Yeah, it's big.
You have partners you work with. God forbid you have to help them somehow, or they have to help you, and you don't know what to do. And I mean, and I know I still get a lot of the use of force stories at work, and I don't know how these kids aren't coming in to train because it's like, you know, what cop got mounted? What cop got choked? You know, what cop had his back taken and the guy tried to take his gun? And I'm going, this doesn't open anybody's eyes.
Yeah.
You know, other than the it's not going to happen to me thing. Or I'm not going out looking for that. And I understand that too. But in Jersey, when you have to make that mandatory domestic arrest because there's signs of injury or complaint of pain, and everybody's all cool until you pull out the handcuffs. I can talk a guy for hours, but then I go like this.
That's it. That's it. Whole thing
But
changes.
you do have to go. But no, you just talk to me nice for an hour. No, you're not putting handcuffs on me. But no, I have to. And that's where even too, I think, de-escalation, you know, which Jersey really, everybody's pushing, but how long do we have to de-escalate?
Listen, sometimes it's not going to work.
And
some people just don't want to go.
But then how many times or how long are we going to prolong this to give the bad guy something to think about, change his mind, you know, an avenue of escape, let me run, let me fight. You know, it's been half hour now, it's been this, you know, and but getting back to, but yeah, I think it's not going to happen to me thing. And I don't want to be embarrassed for a bit, but I don't understand why. I just don't. Because look, and I tell everybody this. I started, and I was embarrassed. Yes, and we all got wrecked when we started. We get it, you know. And there's days I go to school now, and I go like this. There's nights I'm the nail, and I still am. And everybody goes, oh, 2-stripe black belt. And I go, but a lot of factors play into that. Yeah. You know, okay, find me a guy my size, my weight, and my age. It's not, you know. Now I'm wrestling the 40-year-old brown belt that's 205, and I'm like, oh, I'm giving up, 35 pounds. Yeah. It is what it is.
You think size plays a difference in jiu-jitsu?
When the skill's involved, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I agree.
Because now you get the 18-year-old kid that walks in or actually years ago, we had a kid that played linebacker for Westchester University, and he walked in, I was like, oh my God.
Forget about it. Teach this guy a couple of things. He's going to be a menace.
And then it was like, keeping in mind how strong you are in the weight room and how good you are of a football player. Yeah. And then you get on the mat and you're like, oh my God, this is just a different world.
Yeah.
Or you think you have cardio and you're dying now.
Dead. Yep.
Yeah. Actually, Vineland had this kid come in probably about a year ago. I mean, he's about 5'11", 230, and he was shredded, big, muscular tank top standing in the corner. And I walked over and I said, can I help you? And he goes, yeah, I just graduated the police academy, and I got embarrassed in defensive tactics. I need help.
Wow, yeah.
And I was like...
But good for him because...
I was like, oh my gosh. I said, look at you. And it was actually 2 of my guys who train with me that are instructors at the police academy, and they embarrassed me. And he came in to train. And, of course, he coaches midget football, and a child fell on the back of his leg and ripped his Achilles, so he's been out.
Yeah,
but life gets in the way. But, there's the rare instance of somebody going, I'm super big, I'm super strong, and I don't know what I'm doing with my body. And it's not faulting anybody. And I say this, too, because everybody, especially the police department, go, oh, that kid's never been punched in the face, or the kid never did this or never had that. And I go, but why would we expect that? Because up until getting hired, I never wrote a police report either.
That's a great point.
So my department taught me how to write a police report, and I can respect the fact that the old school guys went, "Oh, he's never been in a fight," but why would you? But I never wrote a police report either. I never had to put handcuffs on anybody either. I didn't really do a lot of CPR until I got hired by the police department.
You're making a point that I've actually never heard of before. I've never heard it said in that way.
Sure, because
that's a very good point.
Everything you did in the police academy, you never did before you got to the police academy.
I agree, yeah.
And that's why I said, even I look back on my defensive tactics in the academies, and I'm going, there's not a whole lot I would bring out of there. Yes, going back to Kate Main, the pressure points, yes, once in a while, if I can't get somebody's rear naked choke, yes, my finger will go under your nose. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's just bits and pieces of something in my utility belt, what I can use eventually.
Bring it all together.
Yeah. But everybody just wants that, oh, this kid should be so. You don't hire fighters. If you could hire fighters, you'd have 3 guys in your department.
Right.
So teach your guy, and not even to be a fighter, teach a guy how to defend himself correctly. Because I think our academies are still so hell-bent on PT, which I think it's needed, but why do we need PT 5 days a week and defensive tactics for a week or 2 weeks? Yeah. And it's done. And I always thought, how about doing like Monday, Wednesday, Friday PT, Tuesday, Thursday defensive tactics, and then the next week flip-flop it. Go 3 days DT, 2 days PT. Yeah. Because you're getting your cardio in defensive tactics just like you are out running X amount of miles.
Yeah. I remember in my academy for the county, they wanted that, but it was all these issues with the state, New York State standard, we have to do this, and then they get with like the time issue, well, how much time can we take away from academics from PT? But the general consensus was going to more DT and not less PT, but like maybe we just do the bare necessity
Correct.
PT to keep you, but like DT is really what's going to save your life. And they would hammer that in. And I think in the county, we did more than most other departments, which I was actually like impressed with. I was happy with, but you could tell everybody that was teaching it, that was in defensive tech, like they wanted to do even more and even more. And it's like, you get into the politics with the state and this and that. They don't understand it.
That's why I don't understand. I mean, there's so many great instructors out there. There's so many great programs out there, and I don't understand why everybody's just avoiding it. And it's usually your admin or your attorney general's office or whoever controls your police training commission. But it's necessary, but too many, because just using my department as an example, Vineland's on the range 6 days a year, and they have defensive tactics 2 days a year.
Wow.
And it's not knocking the department, but it's just you're showing a kid you can go to a handgun quicker than you would go to defensive tactics because you don't even remember defensive tactics. I think shooting a gun's obviously a lot easier than Jiu Jitsu or defensive tactics. So pull out a gun.
Yeah,
or actually, crazy. Department down by us, not my department. A guy came in the other day, and he's a school resource officer, and I tease him all the time. You're not even a cop anymore. And it's in jest.
It's the running joke.
It's the running joke.
Yeah, it is.
And he came in and 3-stripe blue belt, I guess, and he goes, "You would have been proud of me today." He goes, "We had defensive tactics, 20 cops in class." He goes, 6 just sat and watched, because it's the option. Because it's not, what are you going to do? Make the guy do it because then he's going to get hurt. And I went to do a bump and roll and I hurt my ribs. Now I'm hurt.
I'm out for 3-4 months.
And once in a while I do some subject matter stuff with attorneys. I was
going to get into that, because I saw you put that in like your bio, and I was like, oh, very interesting.
I did a case recently, which the chief and the administration weren't happy with me, but I pointed out the obvious because it was a drunk driver. Female drunk driver. She came into the station, and when the officer, everything's on body cam. Body cam from him, dash cam, video cam from the department inside, and he puts her up against the wall and says, "Hey, I'm taking the handcuffs off you. Don't freak out. Blah blah blah." And when he puts the key in, she goes to turn, and all he does is naturally and instinctively go, "Don't move." And when he put his left hand out on her shoulder, she's drunk. She fell forward and hit her face on the wall. So
it happens.
She doesn't make a complaint. The lieutenant and IA went, "That's excessive and unnecessary.
Get out of here."
So she says, okay, I give up. He takes the cuffs off. It's all said and done. She gets processed. She refuses. She gets sent to the hospital, goes home. It's all done. Then they try to hit him with suspension for excessive force. And the attorney called me and said, hey, can you do something with this? And I went, yeah. I said, can I see the training records? So I go through the training records, and I called the guy up, and I'm like, hey, when's the last time you had handcuffing? He said, 1997 in the police academy.
Oh, my God.
I said, did your department ever give you a handcuff refresher? No. Did your department ever give you anything hands-on like jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing?
Mm-hmm.
No. He goes, and I asked to go to that Gracie school too. I said, did you? He goes, and I have an email and it's denied. I said, let me see your email. Denied because they had a shortage of funds for training.
Of course.
So denied. I was like, he goes, then I asked to go to the other one that they had, and that was denied because it was summer and everybody was on vacation.
Yeah.
So then I looked at the lieutenant from Internal Affairs, and his report says there's many other options he could have chosen other than the one he did.
Oh, really?
And that's what I said. So I said to the attorney, I said, can I have his training file? So I looked at his training file, and I said, you graduated in 2000, and you haven't had anything handcuff related or DT related since 2000. Mm. So how are we making these choices? It's the old adage. It's like we're gonna train you to here, but we want you want the standards up here, and we're all buddies until it's you do something. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Yep. But wait a minute, And then I brought up the emails and I showed, look, he hasn't had handcuffing in X amount of years. Denied training, lack of training. And then he ended up going for just like 3 days total. And he took a 3-day hit, and that was it. But
even that's a lot for something like...
But here's the game of it, that if the city appeals to the administrative law court or the judge, mm-hmm. the judge could find him guilty, but more than 3 days.
I was going to say, take what you get.
And that's because, look, they wanted, a higher number, and he took 3, and the judge might come and go like this, yeah, you're guilty, but 3's too easy, so we're going to give you 15 instead. Yeah. But it's that where your department won't train you, or it's, we don't have the money, we don't have the time, manpower shortage. But when something happens, they're the first to point the finger at you. And I go, it's not fair is what it is. Yeah. You're doing that to your own people.
Yep. Yeah. I hope one day, like on a national level, there's something that gives departments, like even if it's not go to this camp, go to this gym, go to this, do a 4 hours of like, you get straight time, you get something like just.
There's a department by us in South Jersey. If you get your blue belt, you get X amount of vacation days added to your existing days.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
And then when you get a purple belt, you get more days, and a brown belt and a black belt. Because when we were at a course 2 years ago, and he's a 33 or 34-year-old captain, I think he was, because everybody's bailing. He was in the right place, right time, and he goes, no, we get vacation time added when we earn a belt on our off-duty time.
That's the most incredible thing I've ever
heard. And I was like, that is amazing.
It's amazing.
And I said, oh.
If I didn't have such a good spot right now, I'd be like, where is that? I'm going.
Right. and I was like, vacation time to earn a belt.
That's incredible.
Yes. And
you mean I can do like what I love to do?
That's probably the best I've heard of.
Get more vacation.
That's the best I've heard of.
That's probably the best incentive.
Yes. That is in their police contract down there. And I was like, that is amazing.
If you think about it, it's the least amount of logistics. It gives the incentive for people to train. You can hook up with tons of different gyms. Oh my God, if you went to gyms like that, you know how they would kill everybody with advertising. They'd be like, come train here, come train here.
And the thing is, and there's no workman's comp issues because no one's getting hurt.
Right, yeah.
Guys don't get hurt when they're training jiu-jitsu.
They don't, no.
It's the guys that don't train get hurt at in-service.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And that's what ruins it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of departments, I should say.
Yeah. I see the trend of a lot of departments making their own club. Like the NYPD, I think they started in like 2016 or 17. Like I think they started with the NYPD MMA club because they had boxing and stuff too. And then they had pure jiu-jitsu. And I went to the Los Angeles like Police Olympics in 2017. Mm-hmm. Amazing. The amount of people we met that like did jiu-jitsu. Like I had a match against a Russian kid that did sambo. and like I was like, oh, I was like, this is like a thing. But they're all like segmented, and nobody really now. I guess with Instagram, you have all the profiles up. Like I know for Heroes on the Mat, you have Rikers Island BJJ. You have a couple of Jersey law enforcement groups. You have the NYPD group. I mean, my job has a group. Suffolk has a great group, and they all train at their like respective academies. They'll do their open mats and stuff. But I mean, that's like organically, like guys who train, who work together, just like, hey, let's go do an open mat. And like it's just happening on its own. So like I think the trend is going that way. Like,
it's happening because like Jersey has NJ Leo, which really took off.
That's the one that I saw. Yes,
those guys have been around for a few years now, and they've been doing a great job. South Jersey Troop A, they started doing that with the open mat. So now I hit most of their open mats anymore. But NJ Leo ones are hard because a lot of them are up here. We don't have the numbers of officers are up here, but we get. They were just. I was up at. I was in Toms River last week for the Troop A open mat. Nice. They had a good 40 guys and girls come out.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah.
But we're back in March. I guess we're at the Air Marshal Academy in Atlantic City. NJ Leo came down. There was a good 80 guys on the mat, girls.
See, that's nice. That's like
they got a phenomenal big facility where they train.
Yeah, I think I saw it on Instagram once. I saw a picture and I was like, oh.
NJ Leo is really pushing for the state right now, which is good. Because, like you said, the social media, everybody gets to see now, and it's not a fight club. It's just we're trying to make each other better.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you're better than me at jiu-jitsu or I'm better than you, but I want to make you great for the street.
Yep.
And that's when I tell everybody, I said, look, if you can survive a jiu-jitsu class in any room, you can go on the street and work with a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, I've got brown and black belts that'll try to kill you. But if you're still a blue belt, you can still go on the street and survive and understand and, get that, confidence of like, hey, I've been here before. I've been mounted before. I can get out of here.
Yep.
Or I can hold him down until somebody gets here to help me.
Yeah.
And it's that. Or, I get the random text message or call going, oh, my God, this shit works. And I'm like, what happened? I had to take a guy down by myself, and I mounted him, and I rolled him over, and I handcuffed him, and it wasn't that hard. And I go, yeah, that's what it's about, giving you that confidence to be able to do it. Because if you haven't wrestled or done jiu-jitsu someplace before, it's still new. And what are you gonna do? Figure it out in the street when you're mounted?
Yeah. That's the wrong time to figure
it out.
It's
the wrong time, and it's a for real time. It's not a tap, or the ref's not going to stop it,
That's the street, and nobody respects the tap.
Listen to me, and I get it, but I've seen, and I tell people, not even the national body cam, it's the local body cam. I'll wake up in the morning, go check this out, and I'm like, oh my God, and that was such and such department, 10 minutes from my house, or and it's, I try to tell guys. The shit on social media is real. Don't think it's not going to happen here just because we're so much smaller than most of the communities.
Yep. And sometimes it happens and it just never gets picked up by social media.
Sure, absolutely. And we've had cops, mounted. We've had cops choked, and I've seen body cams where guys are full mounted like UFC going, stop resisting. And I'm going, that dude's not resisting. He's punching your head in.
Yeah.
But just because you didn't know the bump and roll, or bump and trap the arm and roll, and it's that's the thing that just eats at my heart, because I'm going, you could have taken jiu-jitsu for a good year and had a little bit more confidence and knowledge to get off the bottom, or, and you have the time, you have the money. I know how it goes. I've lived it. I've done it for almost my whole entire career. I've been to different schools, and you can't tell me, something's changed where you don't have the time.
Yeah. You always have the time.
Yes.
And I mean, listen, anybody who's listening now, I could tell you, I felt like I didn't have the time. I made the time.
Sure. I can literally tell you, like, every time I had 3 dogs through my career, and every time I was in canine school, I took 6 months off. I couldn't swing jiu-jitsu and canine academy. But right after the academy graduated, yes, rusty, who got an extra 2 stripes when I was gone, who got a belt when I was gone.
Oh, I remember.
Right, it's those. But
that hurts
I couldn't swing that, or I took off for a couple months for an injury. It's that.
And you know what's so I actually have I have a specific instance with this. when I took my time off, when I was going through the whole newborn, multiple kids phase, both working parents phase, whatever, I would still keep up with the guys I used to train with. And my old gym ended up getting bought out and then different owners, and then I had to find a new gym. And I put my kids in the gym that I'm at now. And I would see there's this one kid that I used to train with, and I think he started training like 6 months after me, both white belts, both blue belts. And then when I stopped training, I saw him, he got his purple belt. And I was like, oh, good for him. And then he got his brown belt. And I was like, wow, this kid's killing it. And he's won, I think, New York Open or whatever. I mean, forgive me if any of it's wrong, but multiple super fights. I think he just won like Naga World Champion. And I'm like, and the way that I thought about it was that could still be me. And I was like, but I have to make up that time. And I was like, oh, wow, it's very possible. Like somebody who literally, and it made it real for me because, I mean, I'll watch on social media like all the popular jiu-jitsu people of like, oh, this guy's a monster, this guy's killing it, this guy's crushing this guy's a savage. And I'm like, it's really just time and effort. If you put the time and effort in, you know? And that's the one thing that I held on to that. And it wasn't out of envy. It was out of like inspiration, you know, because I knew him and like we trained together like at the same belt level. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like I can actually do that. So if anybody's listening and they stop training for a little bit, like, no. Like you can get back to like
absolutely
being really good. First couple classes is going to be tough.
Yes. I mean, you lost. Yes. You took off time though, but most of the time it's for a legit, I tell people it's going to be a legit reason. You know, or it's all of a sudden, you know, you started a new college and it's like your schedule changed. Okay.
Shit happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
But you can find. We actually have a girl came to me last summer. She's in the Secret Service Academy. She wanted to train before she went away. She went away. She just came back for 2 months. She goes, hey, I'm moving to another state where I'm going to another academy for 3 months, you know, but I'm finding a school here.
It's good.
And you know, when she comes home, she trains with us, but then when she goes back to where she's at the academy, she goes back to a school there, you know, and it's, you know, but she's looking for a school.
Find it anywhere.
She knows she needs it, you know, and especially I get a lot of the newer kids now. Hey, I'm starting a police academy. I'm starting a correction academy. I need jiu-jitsu.
That's how I started.
But they see it now, and I go, you're going to have, you know, I think Jersey's up to 80 hours for the academy for jiu-jitsu based DT now. Mm-hmm. But I said, this gives you a good jump start because you know,
absolutely.
You don't want to be that like
the worst one in the class.
Yeah. But I get a lot of it now, which is nice. And it's like I said, it's just I'd love every cop to train or just be more confident.
Every cop be a blue belt. Be amazing.
I would love to see it but I hear I'd love to train with my shoulder. But
but it's expensive.
But I go like this: if you can't do jiu-jitsu and your shoulder's messed up, are you going to be able to save your life if your shoulder's messed up?
That's a great point.
Because you can come to me and go, hey, let's roll tonight, but watch this shoulder. Okay. Yeah. I'll avoid that shoulder. Or we'll just roll until you say, hey, that hurts. Yeah. But like when the guy's trying to beat your head and you're going to go, whoa, my shoulder hurts? It's not going to happen, you know? And that's the reality of it. And I hate to be a Nancy negative, but like you potentially have a chance of going on the road and being in a life or death situation.
Yep. Have you ever had a situation that saved your life knowing jiu-jitsu?
I wouldn't say saved my life, but it was an eye-opener for me. Mm-hmm. I was actually on our bicycle unit at the time, and I liked making drug arrests on the bicycle, of course.
Well, they never think they're going to get stopped.
And I remember I went to an apartment complex in Vineland, inner city complex. The boiler room was in the basement, and there was a guy smoking crack at the bottom of the stairs. And, you know, told him he's under arrest. He came up, and he shot a double leg on me, and I sprawled. And when I did, he put his hand on my portable radio, bicycle. We had all nylon gear. Yeah. So, of course, my nylon gear holding my radio breaks off. And I'm like, you know, he starts to run. Or I'm sorry, that comes off. I fall down. I put him in guard. He puts his hands on the floor or the ground. I'm sorry, and at one point he grabs my gun because he just puts his hands out, right? So I grab his wrist and he postures up, and I'm like, damn. So he gets up.
This guy trains.
Yeah, no, he starts to get up, and I'm pulling him down. And I remember saying to this 8-year-old girl, "Go call the police. I need help." And she said, "We ain't got no phone in our house." Oh, wow. And I was like, oh, damn.
Oh, yeah, and your radio's gone.
My radio's laying on the ground. It's not with
no.
me. Now I'm wrestling. He gets up. I push him against a chain link fence. I come up with this genius idea, which is, once again, dumb, which I've learned from. That's when I do all my learning, when I make stupid friggin' decisions. And I push him up against the fence, and I went, I'm going to cuff him to the fence and just stop this for the time being.
It doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah, it is.
To me, that's
because I'm the biggest critic now of, just like jiu-jitsu, control, submit. Police work.
Yeah.
Police work.
Yep.
Control, handcuff. Me, I always go, why do you have something in your hand? And I think it's
a good point.
I did it, and I realized how bad I screwed up as I pulled my handcuffs out, and I got one on his arm. And I was like, oh. And what they always tell you, the other end's that weapon, right? And I said,
now you're tethered to that. Yeah.
Now I'm going to push him to the fence, and he wouldn't let me get him to the fence. He knew what I was doing. And I was like, now I have to hold on to this other hand of the handcuff.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I lost my left hand, and all I have is a right hand.
Yeah, now you're tied up.
And now I'm trying to control him, and I said, this was dumb. And then we're spinning, and then he finally went, I'm done, I'm out of breath. And he sat down.
Oh, thank God.
And I was like,
that's crazy.
I got him handcuffed. A captain showed up back then, smoking a cigarette, going, this little guy gave you a problem?
Yeah, you ever try to wrestle a crackhead?
But it was all the stupid mistakes that I made that I've learned from, and especially trying to just handcuff him to a fence. It was just stupid.
When you first said it, I was like, sounds like not a bad. But then you made that point of like, well, you've actually done it, so like you could speak from the experience. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
Because you always see somebody, some flashlight in your hand, handcuffs. Hey, look, you're under arrest. Just looking at the guy going, just get your other hand empty. And I did it, and it was, but it was a good learning experience for me where I screwed up and I could convey to everybody, don't do stupid shit I did.
It's crazy. Crackhead shot a double leg on you, though.
Yeah, he did. I spoiled. But it's the things like that going, if you never trained jiu-jitsu.
You would never know.
I would never known, ever.
You'd take a little flight, and then you'd be on your back, and now you'd be in trouble.
Or he would have been gone. Just,
right, oh, yeah, taking off.
Crackhead sprint.
Yeah.
But,
which is a real thing,
it's a real thing. Yeah. But, it's I tell people this. I've been there, no crazy fights in the street, but I had enough jiu-jitsu going, oh, this is just too easy. I suffer more in the gym than I ever did on the street, and I'm thankful for it.
Me too. Yep.
I'm thankful.
I've never had an instance where it's like clearly life or death, where like I almost lost my life, but I've had few here and there, not much, where, a quick Kimura, a quick this, or even like, like the, what do they call it, the Dagestani handcuff, like like a wrist ride, something like that, like so simple, and that's simple to learn. Yes. You can learn that in a 1-minute YouTube video, and you can do that, you can do that with your buddy, like on patrol, like, hey, try and get out of this, like, it's good. Have you ever seen, or do you think the jiu-jitsu aspect helps the mental health with cops?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We said it yesterday. It's just cheaper than therapy.
It is.
And I cops especially, but just everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. And I mean, I've seen it where people come in so nervous, and it's understandable, but it's like, am I coming here to get beat up? Or like, no, we're coming here to teach you jiu-jitsu so you can get a lot better, and whatever reasons you're here for, to help you, better them. Because I tell you, I don't think any of us really thinks of our school as a competition school. Mm-hmm. And I don't ask people to compete. You don't have to compete. Yeah. If you say, hey, I want to compete, we'll prepare you to compete. But if you go, hey, I know there's 50 of you going and I don't want to compete, or I'm too nervous, come cheer on. Come cheer on.
That's a good culture to have.
But I don't want people to get uncomfortable, because not everybody's a competitor. Mm-hmm. And I have people come and go, hey, I want to get more comfortable in just confrontations, and this is the place. Yes, you're going to have somebody on top of you, and you're going to panic initially, and then, maybe next year you hang out there for 3 minutes and not panic like you did last year. Yeah. But you're not there for the competition atmosphere. You're not there, for whatever reason other than your own. And I want people at my gym that come there for their reasons and accept why they're there, and not my reasons what they should be doing. Yeah.
I've worked a lot of stuff out on the mat.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, you have miserable days at work, or you've seen something, or and you go there and you wrestle. And even there too, like a lot of my classes, class will wrap up, and who's got to go to work, but then you'll have those 2 or 3 cops sitting there going, shit was bad the other day, of course the joke again, a lot of the younger guys come, can I talk to you? Just from the experience, the cop dad. Hey, this happened to me at work, or what do you think about this? And, other than going to your direct supervisor where most guys don't want to go.
Yeah.
And I, give you my experience or my opinion, but you still have that atmosphere, or then, we can slap and bump and roll.
Yeah.
And then we get done and go, okay, now look, I had a bad day and this happened, or, who went to the fatal or the stabbing or the shooting or whatever, the overdose. Yeah. And it's a great place. Or what department doesn't have a debriefing? And you show up and go, man, I just got to roll and talk to somebody tonight.
Yep.
It's been there. And
that's my way. And it could be a lot of people's way. And for some people, maybe that they still have to do therapy. Maybe they still have to do a little extra of this, but like jiu-jitsu is not a bad place to start. I'll tell you that much.
I have guys that, if I have a guy that'll disappear or a girl will disappear for a little bit, I'll shoot a text.
Check up on them, right?
Yeah. All the time. And, I've had I was in a foot chase last night and the guy threw 10 rounds over his shoulder at me but missed. And I went, wait, he didn't turn around and stop and look at you? He said, just right over his shoulder. And it's like, yeah, I'll be, just give me like a couple days and I'll be back. And it's the shit like that where and it's, listen to me, your department's, it's just not the same. It's not that. Jiu-jitsu's therapeutic for people and not, yes, for cops also because, yes, we're going to experience more than the average person. I hate saying that. And I know there's non-cops out there that have their drama and whatnot, but not to the extent that we do or have done. But this is some place to come together, to blow off steam, and talk to people as opposed to going to, debriefing with some type of therapist that you don't want to talk to that doesn't, and you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but unless you've done this job, you don't understand this job.
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu is a great place for everybody to get together to work out their demons.
Yeah. So our job, the job I'm on, they have a great mental health, just wellness program. They have a peer support. I think it's amazing. But you do see, and I think as the job gets younger, it gets better because I think the younger generation, I guess, is more accepted, tolerant of it. I don't know, more open-minded. But you see, at a scene, like a railroad suicide or something like that, they'll bring out the peer support and everybody will go in a conference room and they'll just sit and talk about it and anybody will air out this stuff. But everybody's so hesitant to say anything. And I can understand why, because it's got to be here. They called in peer support. It is what everybody wants to put on the ego, the tough guy thing. But people are going to have to deal with that eventually. And the good thing about jiu-jitsu is you can go and deal with it in here, in your head, and go and train, and you're doing something healthy. I'm not saying peer support is a bad thing, but I think if it was taken from a different angle, saying hey, listen, we're going to do an open mat sponsored by the job. You come in, you get 4 hours of straight time. There's going to be instructor here, there, and we're going to do this every quarter. And you know what? We're going to put it under the umbrella of the health and wellness. And my job's actually doing that now. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I think if more departments do that, I'm not saying you can fix the mental health problem, but it's something that can help. And it's move more, get some sunlight, deep breathing. If you got to talk to somebody, but do something. Don't ruminate about it. The booze is a bad thing.
Sure.
It's, I think it's just jiu-jitsu is something that's maybe not slept on, but people really don't look at it from that angle. They look at it as for people that haven't trained, that are on the job, in any first responder aspect, I see a lot of them look at it as oh, it's that wrestling, that UFC stuff this. It's really my therapy, honestly.
Sure it is.
It really,
sure it is.
Definitely. So with Heroes on the Mat coming up, you have, 7 or 8 competitors?
Something like that right now, yes. So
you guys are going to come in full force. Everybody at Mulcahy's, it's going to be, you bringing the family with you,
That's the only thing killing us right now is the distance. And it's everybody wants to
tough, yeah.
Everybody wants to go. Now, a buddy of mine said, hey, I think we can catch a train in Trenton to Penn Station and take the Long Island train in railroad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we may be doing that, but I'm telling you what, everybody, gym's in a buzz right now. And it's, we got good fight coming up. We have a Fury coming up. But the heroes on the mat, it's like as soon as somebody, like Matt's poster got posted this morning. Yeah. So I know.
It is cool, man, how the promotion's being done.
I'm waiting to check my phone to go, can you still get me on the card?
Yeah.
Like I said, it snowballed at home. Because when Tim got on the first card, he picked me up. His kids, his girlfriend, and I went up. And that was it. He competed. We came home. And then it was I want to compete.
Yeah.
Oh, Asar's on the card? Hey, can I get on the card?
Yeah.
And then I get hey, I saw we have these two on the card. Can I get on the card? And I said, look, I'll start sending messages up, and I'll get back to you when I can. Yeah. But I think it's great. And it was, it's a great atmosphere. I told the guys, because now I'm getting all the questions. I said, look, you're not going to Worlds. You're not going to Naga.
Yeah.
It's cops, first responders, military doing jiu-jitsu together.
It's a good time.
For a good time and a great cause.
Yeah.
And
that's really is a good time.
And it was that first one was, I walked in there and I was like, it's a sports bar with a cage in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is cool as shit.
I had my kids there and they're like, what's that, Daddy?
In joking, I text my wife. I'm like, let's close the gymnastics school, clean it out, get a cage, and put a bar in it. I said, this is the bomb.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
But I said, I never had any idea. But I said, this is such a great idea.
You know what's good about anybody who wants to compete in it? So the good thing about the cage is it has the springs underneath it.
Yes.
It's like when you get taken, I mean, you know this from the MMA experience, I would guess, but like when you get taken down, it doesn't hurt as bad as if you were to get taken down in the gym. I never knew that.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks painful, but like, it's not as bad as it looks.
No,
actually.
it's no different than our gymnastics floor.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
the same thing.
Exactly. So it's awesome. And I had never had the experience of doing anything in the cage until then. And then I was like, oh, this is actually like pretty nice. Yeah. It was a very good experience.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was a good time. And it's getting like that networking effect. Like everybody's sharing it. Everybody said, do you see this? Do you check this thing out? So like, I think eventually it's going to be like a nationwide thing. I really do. I mean, the logistics of that, figure it out. But
yeah, I really like it because now it's funny because then I teach with C4C and we started seeing C4C instructors that we've never met but just ran into each other at Heroes.
Oh, from knowing each other. Yeah.
I'm like, you're the guy from New York. He goes, you're the South Jersey guy. And, we're playing this game. Yeah. But the networking with jiu-jitsu and law enforcement right now is growing
it is a very
crazy.
Yes, it is big time. That's the one. I keep seeing that trend.
Yes.
I see every single Instagram page of like this jiu-jitsu, that jiu-jitsu. Like somebody's got to like bring it all together. And if anybody's watching this right now, like, and you're in one of those groups, like comment it below and like we'll link up. Like we'll put it. I guarantee you, if people who are watching this are part of like an open mat or like a club with their job, whether it's corrections, law enforcement, like there will be like hundreds of comments because they're out there. Like it exists. It's it's crazy.
I mean, like the different agencies at my school between local police departments, sheriff's departments, state jails, federal jails.
And that's just a geographical area.
County jails. I said I have several different federal agencies that just, stop in and train. And but guys just want to come in and get on the jiu-jitsu now. Yeah. And it's growing nice. And I think the networking helps and everybody's starting to see the positive effects.
It is. It's having a lot of positive effects. I think so too. So what's your message to people who are watching right now to represent your gym, your competitors?
Well, going back to the law enforcement, if you feel the need to be in law enforcement, you just need to realize you have to train. You have to.
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil. Yes, I know you don't want to go into a gym and, possibly hurt the ego or get hurt, but you're going to see the positive effects of jiu-jitsu in your work just because I don't want to face the unexpected at work ever. I never wanted to do that. Yep. I'd rather get crushed every night in the gym knowing there's nothing like this outside of this gym.
Yep.
I'll bleed in my gym. I'll tweak something. I'll get hurt. But outside of here, I said, if I have to, I told my people this, if I die outside of this gym, it was bad.
Yeah.
Because but I don't want that. I'm not seeking that. But if I have to defend you or defend my family or defend somebody, I want to be able to,
Yeah.
I want to be able to step up for somebody if I have to. But on the flip side, if I have to call you and dial 911 and shit's bad, I'm calling you for a reason. I need you to defend me. I need you to help me.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you're doing a disservice to yourself, your family, your department, your community.
Yeah.
And going back to, like you said, the mental health aspect. Yeah, we had a bad day. I went to a horrible scene, a bad collision. I just got to roll tonight.
Yep.
Yeah. And you don't want to talk to the departmental psych or, the stranger.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell them, go train. Find a law enforcement gym or find a gym with a bunch of cops that you can talk to.
Yep.
There's
a lot of gyms out there.
There's a lot.
Very cop friendly. I mean, I've never met a gym. I've dropped in at, tons of gyms.
Yes.
And I've never met a gym that was not friendly to cops. Ever.
But I think the reason is now even the non-cops see going, oh my God, you guys don't train a lot of jiu-jitsu. And now with social media, you see the embarrassing videos going, like one of my blue belts would go, well, I would just side control them until somebody could help me. And I go, that's basically it.
I know Tom DeBlast does a really good job with this on his Instagram. And he's not making fun of anything. He's really trying to spread the awareness. I like some of the content that he puts out is so dead on. It's
right.
Accurate. It's very accurate. And there's a lot of people that are trying to push it in a positive motion, not oh look, they can't do anything.
Right.
Listen, let's start training.
And it's not so much putting you down, but it's showing how easy it could be if you did.
Yeah.
And then getting back to my people with the heroes, I didn't ask anybody to compete, and I said I never will. And I just had people, I keep saying it, snowballing, going, oh, we got 3 people, let's make it 4. We got 4 people, let's make it 5. And I just get, they want to represent. I've got retired military. I got, like I said, one guy from the federal prison. I got a state trooper. I've got local cops. I got women. I've got a lieutenant in parole who's over 40 competing, I think.
That's great.
And you start looking at that, and people that are leading by example in law enforcement, trying to show their peers, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you from firsthand experience, if people are thinking about signing up, I remember when I signed up, and I was telling all my buddies in my office, and I was like, oh, I signed up for this thing. And they were like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. And then when my card came out, with the picture and everything, they're like, oh wow, this is a thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Yeah. And then everybody got said oh yeah, we're gonna go. This is gonna be great. Yeah. It was a good time. It was great. And I'll never forget, you spoke about something that was very important about life gets in the way sometimes, this and that. I remember something that my first coach told me in jiu-jitsu. He was a retired homicide detective in NYPD. I think he was a grade 1. And I remember I saw him outside of the gym once. And he's like, oh, you've been training? And I'm like, listen, I get to the open mats at gym when I can. And I was like, I'm getting there 1 a week. I'm getting 1 session in a week. He's like, listen, never stop training. And he used to tell me that in the gym. He told me that out of the gym. He's like, I don't care if you go once a month. He's like, never stop. He goes, and if you stop, he's like, do everything in your power to get back onto it. And I always remember it. And you saying that, it triggered it for me. And I was like, they're right. They're absolutely right. Just don't stop. And if you haven't even started, just start. And I think it's an important message. I think it is. So while we're here, shout out what you do. I know Sharktank BJJ.
Sharktank Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Vineland, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Evolution Canine Training in Vineland, New Jersey.
Yeah. I know we didn't get into that a lot, but yeah. It's so what do you do with that? You do
train house pets, house dogs.
Ah, okay. Very interesting.
Never really got into that. COVID came when I retired. Everybody started calling me, hey, you training dogs? No. And then I was like, hey, my dog, if my husband said we're getting rid of the dog if we can't change the behavior.
Is it something that can be changed?
Yes.
Are some dogs
Yes.
just doomed from the start, or
No.
you can? Interesting.
This is my 6th year doing it, and it's just basically word of mouth and Instagram. And that's all it is. I don't do contracts. I don't tie you into a long contract.
Yeah.
I show you how to fix your dog. And
What's the craziest dog you've ever had to
I had a pit bull maul me last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what was that like?
Fortunately, coming from a canine background, it wasn't. If it would have been a not canine person, went to the house, lady said, hey, we have this pit bull. He's been a little aggressive toward people. Dog's in the house. I show up like this, flip-flop shorts like I usually do. She opens the door. The pit bull doesn't bark or growl. He runs through the living room and latches onto my right calf. So I drop straight down on top of him and start choking him. Because the thing is, if you choke a dog, he'll release. So he lets go of my calf. He bites my other calf.
Oh, no.
I switch my choke. I choke him again. He bites my forearm. I start choking him the best I can. Puts holes in this forearm.
Are you grabbing like a rear naked or
no,
like a...
just like this. Just
Oh, okay.
The old school
rape choke.
Rape choke. Yeah.
Hate to say it. We'll bleep that out.
I hate to say it anymore, but yeah, that's what they call it. And like, don't say it anymore.
Listen,
either.
I still.
Listen, people go, don't hit, and I go, don't even call it that anymore. I said, but no,
when that gets clipped out on YouTube, they'll understand what
I'm doing the old school choke to him, and he finally lets go. And after about 10 seconds, he was done. If dogs don't win, they give up. He gave up. I grabbed him by the collar, I threw him in the house, and closed the door. I said to the lady, what's this? She goes, he doesn't like people in shorts. I said, you couldn't have told me this before you let the dog out. She goes, well, I said, plus you have a chain link fence. We could have met through the chain link fence, which I like to do. I said, but now I have to go to the hospital. She's like, well, are you going to sue me? I said, no, I'm not suing you, but I have to go to the hospital because I'm leaking. She goes, oh, okay. You're not going to sue me. No, I'm not suing you, but I have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So then, they calls me, hey, I took the dog back to the SPCA. I'm like, okay. So I called there. I'm like, hey, you might want to put this dog down. They're like, well, sir, we don't put dogs down. I said, he just mauled me. Well, the owner said he bit the trainer. I said, no. I'm at the hospital. I'm leaking bad.
Oh, man.
So I sent pictures to the animal control lady. I said, show the SPCA these pictures and what happened. And she went, well, listen, if this did this to me, she goes, that would have killed a kid or the mailman.
Imagine, yeah.
Kid would have died, mailman would have. Because the thing is, when you get bit by a dog, you shouldn't run. Because now prey drive kicks in, or you've seen the police dogs that bite a guy's calf as he's running away, and he keeps running. Now the dog's holding the calf, and the guy's still running. So yeah, but it's that, and that's been like my worst experience in 6 years with house pets.
Okay.
House pets aren't hard.
Very interesting. Wow. So now I know to choke a dog if it ever bites me.
That's all you really got to. If your dog's chewing socks in your house, just squeeze his neck a little bit. He'll spit the sock out.
Interesting. I never knew that. Well, we don't have a house pet yet. Maybe a couple more years. We'll wait on it. But so you have that, and then you do subject matter. I know you're talking about the subject matter expert work.
I do that once in a while because attorneys don't like to hear no. I looked at a canine case recently, and I went, can't help the canine guy out here at all. So it was a bad bite. If I say no, I don't get hired, and I won't. I won't cave. I'm not that guy.
That's good.
I saw one recently where guy got into a fight with a neighbor. Then the cop got there, didn't know what was going on, so he ends up putting the guy who's suing on the ground, kneeled on his back and handcuffed him. Went to the hospital, told the doctor he got beat up UFC style by his neighbor. And then he sued the police department for excessive force and his messed up shoulder.
Oh, boy.
And I went, you told the doctor you got beat up UFC style by your neighbor, but now we're suing the police department.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I told the attorney, I said, I can't help you here.
Yeah.
I said, if there would have been no civilian interaction before the officer, you go, there might be something there, but there's not.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no excessive force there. There's not.
Yeah.
He handcuffed the guy because he didn't know what was happening when he arrived, and he was the only guy there. Well, yeah, but his shoulder, I said, it's not excessive force. It's not.
Shit happens.
And it happens, and it's as soon as I tell an attorney, no, they go, yeah, we don't. We'll go find somebody else who will, and they want the person to agree with them, and I won't do that.
It's like when I get the jury duty summons, and I'm like, I'm a cop, and they're like, get out of here.
Right, but that's what I said. I said, that's a bad bite. You're like, yeah, we can't use you. That's not excessive. Yeah, we can't use you.
Well, listen, Bill, it was great. I'm very excited for June 8th. I know everybody else is excited. We're still 6 something weeks away. And if people are watching this and it's past June 8th, then there's going to be another one. So get excited for that one too. But it was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Amazing.